Hi, I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
I'm Lindsey Deluce.
And I'm Kelsey McEwen.
Welcome to CTV Your Morning, the podcast.
Today on the podcast, Kate Hudson and Kaia Gerber on their shared love of Canada's cottage country. We also talk about their new movie called Shell.
We will also be joined by rising country star Kashus Culpepper, who's getting ready to release his buzzworthy debut album. And we always love when he stops by. Alan Doyle joins us with his new book, which is part travel guide, part love letter to his home province.
And remember to start your day with us live weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV CTV News Channel, or you can take us with you on the CTV News app.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. We have a great episode for you today.
We sure do. Coming up, Kate Hudson, Kaia Gerber, and Max Minghella on their new movie, Shell. It's out right now. It's a very cool concept. It's set in the near future, and it tackles society's obsession with youth and beauty and the extremes that some people are willing to go to.
Lindsey, you had the chance to sit down with them. What was that like?
You know what it was like? And I think I told you this off camera. It was so wild to me because when I sat down, these are the daughters of really famous people.
Yes.
Right? And they look so much like their moms. So it almost felt in a way that it was Cindy Crawford and Goldie Hawn.
Right.
Obviously, they're their own people and they're fantastic, but just like the similarities were wild.
And you had to probably keep reframing this as Kaia.
Yeah, I mean, she looked so much like her mom.
Yeah.
They were awesome. They were so warm. You're going to hear my conversation with them coming up. And I asked them if there was an age that you could freeze, what age would you go back in time to revisit in your life?
Oh, that's
And
a
I'm gonna
good
ask you guys
question.
that.
That's like a good Christmas party question
Oh.
to ask somebody that. You know, I wish I could go back, if I could, to any time when I was kind of in those formative early 20s years and just tell myself to slow down. Just to like stop trying to grow up so quickly. Because I think I had this idea that it was very impressive to be professional and a grown-up. And so I rushed into that.
I don't often think back or try to live in the past at all, but you said something that makes me think, I wish if I could go back, I would take my kids out of school more and travel with them. I was so worried about them missing anything. And you realize now there's lots of space to catch up. And we could have taken them out more and done some more travel.
I think I'm in a place right now where I'm moving so quickly with everything that, because I don't want to go back anywhere, but I feel like in 15 years, if you ask me that question, the 40-ish version of myself, it would be like, slow down. But I'm on a ride.
Are you listening to your own advice right now?
I know, I don't know. Anyway, it's an interesting question.
All right, stay tuned. Kate and Kaia are coming up. But now turning to news, did you know, as of last week, Canada is no longer considered measles-free. It's a classification that this country held for nearly 30 years, and World Health officials now say the cause is low vaccination rates in Canada. The Pan American Health Organization took away Canada's status for failing to prevent transmission of the virus, which began over a year ago. As of the end of October, Canada recorded more than 5,000 measles cases and 2 deaths. Most of those infections were in Alberta and Ontario. To explain how this happened and what it means for you, I'm joined this morning by Dr. Dale Kalina-Samji, infectious diseases specialist and chief medical information officer at Brant Community Healthcare System. Good morning.
Good morning, good to see you.
At one point, Canada had more cases than the US and the UK this past year, countries that have much higher populations. How did we get here?
We had 2 huge outbreaks, as you mentioned, in Ontario and in Alberta. And the context for that, remember as well, of course, Ontario is also much larger than Alberta is. So the number of cases that we had in Alberta per capita were actually enormous as well. And really what happened is those 2 outbreaks really drove the number of cases that we had, particularly because they were in communities where the vaccine rates are negligible. They're very, very low. And with measles, which already spreads like wildfire, when it is able to get into a community like that, it really can take over. And we can see the frankly, absurd number of cases that we saw over the course of the past year. So really, it's disappointing to see that we've lost our elimination status, but it's not surprising.
Yeah, and you know, the numbers really tell the story here. So in the UK, I think their highest peak number of cases was just over 3,000. In Alberta, they had 2,000. In Ontario, they had 2,400. So just to paint the picture of how widespread transmission was just in the past 12 months. So where are the hotspots and why?
So in Ontario, the hotspots have been in a number of communities that are actually very close to where I work in Brantford, but extend out towards London. And in Alberta, they're quite diverse communities as well. But I think that the tie that holds a lot of these communities together is that they tend to be very tight-knit communities where exposure to the public health network can sometimes be limited, but also the way that we transmit information to one another in communities such as this can be very difficult. And at the end of the day, one trusts the people that you know and love more than strangers. And it's always difficult in tight-knit communities such as those to be able to transmit information and leads to stronger public health discord and an increased level of health literacy. And I think that that's what's led to really reduced rates of vaccines, particularly measles, mumps, and rubella, and has led to these outbreaks.
And it is the low vaccination rate that is cited as one of the reasons, hence for transmission, which is why we lost our status. Being more specific about hotspots, in March of this year, Ontario's Chief Medical Officer of Health said more than 90% of the outbreaks, of the cases, were linked to unvaccinated individuals. And in a memo, Dr. Kieran Moore said cases could spread in any unvaccinated community or population, but are disproportionately affecting some Mennonite, Amish, and other Anabaptist communities because of a combination of underimmunization and exposure to measles in certain areas. We know religious communities are rarely vaccinate, but they aren't the only ones choosing to withhold from vaccination. So to what degree is vaccine skepticism responsible for this outbreak we're seeing, not just in religious community, but social media and communities that are more integrated?
You're right. So this outbreak itself, and particularly in Ontario, did primarily occur within some Mennonite communities. It isn't the religious component, of course. What it really is the structure of the community, where there's a lot of reliance on speaking to others within the community for advice, and only that. And that's what I was alluding to before, is that we get a variety of different biases from individuals who stay and within only one community. Survivorship bias is something that we think of and speak about often. You know, the commonly heard trope of, you know, my grandmother didn't get vaccinated against measles, and she's done just fine, so why should I? But at the end of the day, if somebody did not get vaccinated against measles and got measles and died, which is something that happens, they of course can't produce children. So you can't have that looking back to when that person had it. So it does propagate a lot of misinformation about how vaccines work and the role for them within the community. So we get a lot of that, and public health across Ontario, across the country itself, needs a lot of resources to be able to build programs for particular communities, whether it's in different languages, such as Low German for these Mennonite communities and other communities really across the country, which is what we saw in COVID, development of documents and programs in a variety of different languages, developing approaches that rely on community members to help with support, and really to build that level of trust, which is something that we don't see or see as lacking between doctors, between physicians, public health, and variety of communities. So it really has led to this low vaccine status, which has driven the measles outbreaks that we've had and the loss of our elimination status.
Given all of the areas that you've outlined, survivor bias, religious beliefs, lack of trust in the healthcare system, how do we get our status back? Countries that have lost this status have taken anywhere from 5 to 20 years to have it reinstated. Where does Canada sit? How do we get it back?
Well, we need stronger public health, and we need more funding for public health resources to actually be able to reverse this trend. We talk about very specific communities, particularly in Ontario, but if you look across the board, in particularly a lot of the prairie provinces, particularly Alberta, vaccine rates have been declining for a very long time, and that tends to be associated with low trust in the medical community, for example, but also, frankly, a lot of propaganda. And so to be able to counteract that, we need funding for our public health resources. We need funding for our healthcare system, particularly when you look at the fact that people with measles are being hospitalized. People with a variety of vaccine-preventable illnesses, COVID, RSV, the flu, are being hospitalized. So we don't have enough funding to deal with any of that. But realistically, funding to be able to support vaccine programs across the country are what's required to be able to reverse that trend. and help us regain that elimination status, which will allow Canadians to be safer, will allow for people who are tourists to our country to be safer, and realistically to help protect those who can't get the vaccine as well. It makes everything safer for everybody, and we're just not there right now. And this is a very public bruise to reflect that.
Dr. Dale Kalina-Samji, thanks for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Kate Hudson and Kaia Gerber have teamed up with Elizabeth Moss and Max Minghella in the new body horror film called Shell. So it's set in the near future, and this film explores the cultural obsession with youth and beauty and the extremes people are willing to go. I sat down with Kate, Kaia, and Max to talk about aging, nostalgia, and if they would ever want to rewind the clock.
Great to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Congrats on the film.
Thank you so much.
You've described this movie, Shell, as a love letter to a specific era of studio filmmaking. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, when I was growing up, they would make these sort of movie star driven genre films that maybe weren't designed to win awards or sell toys, but were really kind of high crafted entertainment. And I miss those kinds of movies. They've sort of fallen by the wayside a little bit. And when I first came across this material, I was just so excited, I think, about the opportunity to hopefully make something that was really entertaining and like exciting popcorn movie for people.
Popcorn movie. Okay, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
When you say that, you mean?
I mean a movie designed to be shared with an audience, a movie designed to have a participatory relationship with the audience. It's a film that you can sort of shout at the screen and throw your popcorn and laugh and cover your eyes sometimes and just have a fun time. That's really its ambition more than anything.
What was it about the material that really jumped out at you?
I think it's two things. I think the themes of the movie are just incredibly prescient and universal. It sort of deals with questions of mortality and vanity and age and these things that I think every single person kind of wrestles with at some point in their life. So that's very attractive to me, to have a subject matter that so many people can connect to. And then on top of it, the fact that the movie's incredibly unpretentious, I love. That's sort of my taste. I don't like things that are pretentious. So I love that the movie didn't take itself seriously, and yet I thought was incredibly intelligent.
It was really fun to watch, and I love that sort of those two pieces to this film. When we talk about age, we talk about aging. I'm in my 40s, and there was an article the other day about somebody saying like there are 2 points in your life where you really feel your age, and you'll start to age, and one of that is 44, which
I just saw that article, and it scared the shit out of me.
I know,
Yeah.
and guess what happened? I turned 44 this year, and I
Oh,
coughed.
you're good. You're safe.
Thanks, but I coughed and I like messed up my rib. And I was thinking about this article. I was like, is this the stage I'm at in my life? My husband just turned 44. He bent down and threw out his back.
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. So now that's like such
I'm right behind you.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you feeling age?
I'm completely. I turned 40 next year, and so this script is so sort of hyper relevant to me. It's a very interesting thing. It's like we all ignore it until we don't, and suddenly it's very present and in our minds. And I've never taken care of my body. I'm going to be throwing my back out every time I pick up the phone.
But I think that's what you start to do. I don't feel the age that's written down for me. How old do you feel? And is there an age and time that you would...
12.
Yeah, I know. I feel the
Have you seen the movie, Anne-Marie? No, I feel very young. I mean, I do. I think we all do. And that's a wonderful thing, actually, weirdly, I think, for what we do. I think about that a lot. I think having a sense of playfulness and a childlike mentality may be complicated in the real world, but when it comes to working in entertainment, it's kind of a privilege.
Is there an age that you would like to freeze in time?
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily for the physical, but also just that feeling of that age.
I had a brief year. I don't know what happened. I think I was like 21 or 20. There was 1 year when I was really grown up. I just had a year where I was like really kind of the best version of myself, and then it completely fell by the wayside. I don't know what happened, but if I could recapture that one moment, maybe that was
At least you have it.
I had it once, yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's so lovely to talk to you.
When I see the two of you together, I think of one Canadian place, Muskoka. We were just talking about it. I was like, did you come from the cottage?
Yeah, I know.
What is it about that area of Ontario that you guys love so much?
Oh, I'm gonna start.
Yeah, go.
I went the first time when I was 14 years old and fell in love immediately. And then when my parents decided to build up there, it was like dreamy. So from 16 to like my mid 30s or, early 30s, that was what we did. And, it was like so sad when we left because we're not there anymore. Because of the kids and everything, we stopped going as much, and so we were sort of like, it's like the worst decision of my dad. We're like, how could you sell the cottage?
Come sleep in our bunk bed.
I know, but honestly, like, it's just, you can't explain it to people until they get there, and they're like, oh, this is just the best.
It's so magical, and I have been going since I was born. I've spent every summer there. I've fallen in love there. I've fallen out of love there. I've had all my.
Me too.
Right?
I got so terrible breakup.
Terrible. But there's something
Went
about that
right
place.
to the cottage.
I know, it's so healing every time I go. It can be, in the middle of a really busy month, and I will always take time to go, and it's just so re-energizing for me. It's so magical, and I was recently watching On Golden Pond, which.
I had footage of me at 16 at Marty Short's cottage watching On Golden Pond, and he was filming me, and I was bawling.
Yeah. It's like, for people who don't maybe understand it, I'm like, watch On Golden Pond, and I think it will give you an understanding of what that life is like and just how serene it is.
Oh, and when you see the big storms, it's
Isn't it the best? So we had a family cottage up there for 25 years. Really? So like you, we sold it in 2017, and it was such a death in the family, right? Like,
it really
It becomes a member of your family.
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, there's also something to be said about like creating a space, and I'm sure with your children and your families, that when you create a space for everybody to come to, you get that sort of interlocking connectedness with family, and it's so important, especially as you get older, right?
Yeah.
And people are kind of everywhere.
And it's like you shut it down.
Yeah.
Like you get there and like everything gets shut down. And I also feel like I was there before we had all this technology, so I got the and you too probably, well, maybe when you were a little bit, you're much younger. No, maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't.
A 4-year age difference?
Yeah, 4 years. But we had, you went there and it's like, we weren't talking to anybody. You were out. It was
I was talking to the Dock Boys.
Yeah, you were.
Gas Boys
Oh,
at the
yeah. Yes,
you were at Windermere. You were
so
at
fun.
Edenvale. But yeah.
Speaking of age and getting older, obviously that's a main theme of Shell. Is there an age that, and I'm not just talking about physical, is there an age that you would go back to based on sort of the feeling that you had at that point? Like you just want to freeze that in time? Speaking of age and getting older, obviously that's a main theme of Shell. Is there an age that, and I'm not just talking about physical, is there an age that you would go back to based on sort of the feeling that you had at that point? Like you just want to freeze that in time?
I will say this. There was a time when I was single with my 2 boys, and that was so nice to be alone. No, I love my man. But there was this little pocket of time where I was so happy in my life, where I realized I don't need any companionship and love and connection. That's all good, but I don't need that to live the best version of my life. So that little pocket of time, which was 3 years, was so great. I had them all to myself. It was it was just great. We had so for me it's more like that. But age, I don't even know. What about you?
I mean,
I know you're.
I'm I hope it hasn't happened yet. I feel like
you're like
I'm like one day I'll go through puberty and then maybe I'll look back. I mean, I do remember in my teenage years, all I wanted was to be in my 20s. I couldn't wait to grow up and become an adult. And now that I am in my 20s, I'm I wish I would have just enjoyed being a teenager more. I was so eager to grow up very quickly. I definitely wouldn't go back to being a teenager, but I think maybe I would just wish that I had enjoyed it more while it was happening.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Being present is actually an amazing thing to be able to do, because
And it's a learned behavior too, I think, for a lot of people, like to be able to live in that space.
Yeah, or like be excited about something new. And we were talking about like, that's like, if not, then you're kind of feeding into that negative bias that we have, that we're so predisposed to in our brain, where we're just like, oh God, like we're gonna die, you know? It's like, no, well, we're gonna die. Let's get that out of the way. And now let's just enjoy what we're looking at in front of us, you know?
Well, thank you both.
Thank you.
It's great to meet both of you.
Nice to meet you.
Congrats on the film.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to Your Morning, the podcast where we bring you some of our best conversations from the show every week. And you can join us live on CTV every weekday, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 7 to 10 a.m. Atlantic on CTV CTV News Channel. Or you can take us with you on your CTV News app. Kashus Culpepper has been named one of the top country musicians to watch in 2025. And it makes a whole lot of sense when you have a voice like this.
Well, I don't wanna talk about the things I've seen.
Even more incredible, he learned how to play guitar during the pandemic, and he quickly rose to fame singing covers in bars, and now he's performed at the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, and he's on tour opening for country music legend Darius Rucker. Cash is in studio with us this morning. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Listen, it is great to have you here. You have got the kind of story, Cash, that I love. It's full of twists, it's full of grit. You have worked as an EMT, a firefighter. You were also in the Navy, but you left all of that to pursue this career in music. What changed?
I think for me, just gaining confidence during that time that I was learning guitar in the Navy in 2020 overseas and rode to Spain. I got the confidence just to start singing more. My buddies just gave me the confidence to keep singing. They kept telling me to keep going, and I kept going.
Well, there was a time, though, when you decided it was more than your buddies you needed to hear from. You load your stuff up onto TikTok, and really that's where it kick-started you. And now look at you. I'm going to show everybody one of the early videos in case they haven't seen it yet. Here it is.
Some things in life mean to fire. Others ain't born to run.
Okay, how do you feel, first of all, when you look back at this video?
Dude, that's early.
A deep cut.
That is a deep cut right there. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, we do our research here at Your Morning. Listen, after this, you start getting hundreds of thousands of views from TikTok. And, you go from there to the Grand Ole Opry, Cash. Could you share that story of posting that first video and the response you got back, and then how that fueled this hope of you turning this into a career?
Yeah, I had my buddies always telling me just to keep going with it, and my family, my sister specifically, was just telling me to start uploading on socials. And then I started doing that, and then I started getting a response from that, and I was like, okay, maybe I can just keep posting and just see what happens. And then eventually I had a video that did go pretty, I wouldn't say crazy viral, but it was a way more people that I've ever seen or commented on anything I had, and it just fueled me to just keep going. That's why I kept posting.
It landed you where we were just showing, like at the Grand Ole Opry. Tell me about that moment, because I love hearing from artists. It's one thing to go and watch people perform, but to be the one who's standing there looking out at the crowd, standing in that sacred circle, how did that feel? I
mean, it's insane. So much of my influences have played the Grand Ole Opry, and it's just a huge deal and one of the most historic places in country music. So for them to back me and ask me to play, especially when I got to Nashville so early on, and them to believe in my music, I mean, it's insane. It's honestly just so surreal for me.
Okay, but real talk, we know that Nashville, they're a very tight community. They don't always take kindly to newcomers who are coming in, especially people who, seem to have started later in their career. So what's it been like?
It's been really nice. I mean, the community accepted me so well, and I think at the end of the day, I think they understand I'm just being real and authentic with my music, and I'm always just a real person. I'm just me, and I think it's just really cool that they accept me. You know what I mean? I don't got to play a character. They just accept me, and it's so cool for them to accept me. You've
got a new single out from your upcoming debut album. I want to give everybody a chance to listen to it if you haven't heard it already.
You walking out of that door, threw your middle finger at me. Never knew you.
So first of all, tell me about the story behind this song.
I took so long to write a song like this because I always thought like dancey songs and fun songs kind of corny for some reason. But I was like, I love all that stuff, you know, growing up on Michael and Prince and a lot of those guys from the 80s. And I just wanted a song that felt like that I can dance. And I just wanted a song to tell a great story and have fun with, you know.
Do you dance to your own songs?
Oh, yeah, I was dancing a lot to this one. Yeah, while I was writing it.
Listen, you are opening for Darius Rucker at a few shows here in Canada. You've already been out west. What do you enjoy most about being on the road?
Honestly, being with my band, checking out new places I've never been to. We've been all across Canada so far. We started over near Vancouver area and then been working our way all the way here to Toronto. So it's been really cool to check out every little small town and the culture, the food, and honestly, just playing music live, too, as well. It's just been such a joy. And being on the road with Darius Rucker, one of my heroes, I mean, that's just insane, you know?
Mean to Me is out now on all music streaming platforms. It's been a real pleasure to have you here, Cash. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
This morning, we are taking a look at a health issue affecting 7.5 million Canadians. Hypertension, also known as high blood pressure, is often called the silent killer because it can develop without obvious symptoms. Roughly 1 in 4 Canadians live with this condition. There are things you can and should be doing to prevent or manage it. So here to share is Dr. Paul O, a cardiologist and the medical director at University Health Network's Cardiovascular Prevention and Rehabilitation Program. Great to have you, Doctor.
Good morning. So glad to be with you.
I saw you nodding as I was reading those stats right off the top.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. What is hypertension or high blood pressure?
Yeah, think about blood pressure like air in a tire. It's that we need some air to keep the tube inflated, but if we get too much of that pressure, then that puts extra stress in our system. Blood pressure is necessary because our hearts pump blood, carries nutrients and oxygen all around our body and feeds our organs. But we need to regulate that in a very precise way.
So how do we know if we have high blood pressure? What would we be experiencing and what would we be looking for?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, Kelsey, that it's really quite silent, right? The only way of really knowing what your blood pressure is to measure it directly. So getting a cuff for home or seeing your healthcare practitioner or going to the pharmacy and getting your blood pressure checked. That's the one way. We don't really experience symptoms from high blood pressure unless it's really, really high, which is kind of medical emergency, or if we've had some untoward effect of blood pressure over the long term, like a stroke or a heart attack.
Is it hereditary to have high blood pressure? Is that one of the things that can factor into this?
Yeah, for some people, there may be a family element to this. There isn't one gene that contributes to blood pressure per se, but it can run in families. So if your parent had high blood pressure at a young age, then it may affect you. For many others, there's no good reason. We call it essential or primary. Not that you need it, but it just happens very commonly, like in 1 out of 4 adults over the age of 20.
So what are some of the risk factors then? And does it equally impact men versus women?
Yeah, so roughly equal in men or women, about 1 out of 4 adults. Some risk factors, some health behaviors can contribute. Too much salt, we know about that. Alcohol can make blood pressure go up. Not having enough fruits and vegetables, not being active. All of these things can make blood pressure go up. In addition, for some people, there are some medical conditions that can make blood pressure go up, like kidney problems or some hormonal issues, like too much cortisol from an adrenal issue.
You know, it's funny, I've done a lot of these health segments, and every single time we chat with a health professional, the common themes that come back up, lots of fruits and vegetables, making sure you're moving, making sure you're limiting the things that we know are not good for you. And that comes up time and time again because those things do contribute to a healthier lifestyle, whether we want to admit it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. In our programs at the University Health Network and the Peter Munk Center, this is what we talk about all the time. In addition to amazing technologies, in addition to amazing procedures, the fundamental things can really impact on our heart health, blood pressure, risk of all other kinds of diseases.
So let's talk about how, if you're listening at home, how can we prevent or manage hypertension? You go to the doctor, you hear those words, you have high blood pressure, we're seeing that this is consistent. What do we do?
Yeah, step 1, know your numbers. So actually measure it. And if you've been told you have high blood pressure, then investing in a device that you have at home, a validated one that fits properly on your arm, is one great way. So track it at home because the measures at home might be very different than they are in the office. Some people have a large discrepancy, but your home numbers are the most important. 2, think about your health behaviors. As we've discussed, do the good things that are good for you because they're also good for your blood pressure and your heart. Third thing, if you have been prescribed medications, take them regularly. It's not a defeat or it's not a loss if you need medicines. In fact, many people need medications for high blood pressure. The most common reason we actually take medicines in the world. So take them regularly, and sometimes combos are going to be better than one single pill. So if you need 2 or 3 to get the pressure down, wonderful. Work on the health behaviors. Maybe you can knock off a medicine as well in the future.
Doctor, is there a time period in our life where this becomes something that we need to be thinking about? I imagine, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but I imagine for kids, maybe this isn't a conversation we're having, but as we get older, we hit a certain age where, hey, we got to start thinking about our blood pressure. Am I on base here?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The curve of prevalence of high blood pressure goes up as we get older, for sure. But, it's worthwhile at those annual checks getting your blood pressure measured, even for your young adults. Certainly in our middle years of life, middle kind of shifts, right? 40, 50, 60, yeah. So in those years, absolutely getting blood pressure checked periodically is really important. And as we get into our older years, getting it checked very regularly is really important.
Okay, doctor, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Glad to be with you.
I'm laughing and we haven't even started. If ever a book is going to make you want to travel, it is this one. And if you can't physically travel, you can send yourself off into the pages of adventure with Alan Doyle as your tour guide of the Smiling Land. And in it, Doyle brings readers to some of his favorite spots across Newfoundland and Labrador. And he's here now to spin a few stories for us this morning. Great to have you back.
What a show you got going on here.
Listen, you are a busy guy. You just wrapped up a stage production of Telltale Harbor. Magical show. Thank you so much for that. You are touring, you are with the band, and now you've written this book. And you've just said to me that writing the book is the exact opposite of doing a play. Where did you find time to pen this?
We did it sort of as a family trip, really. Myself and my wife, Joanne, and our son, Henry, sort of toured around Newfoundland. And he was like sort of late 17 and early 18 years old when we did most of the travel for this book. And, we just figured he was getting towards the age where we might not get him to come with us anymore.
Well, I was going to ask.
So we got in our minivan and drove from St. John's all the way around up to the northern tip of Newfoundland. And then we drove across, and that picture's right just on the southern shore of Labrador. And we drove across the Labrador High. We drove all over. Anyway, we had a great time, and we loved it. And I just thought it would make for a great book for people to come along behind me and to see what I saw, and to use it as an opportunity to show what the new Newfoundland might be, or what it looked like to me anyway. And then also to take a chance to point out some of the things that are, make Newfoundlanders special and unique and weird and wonderful.
So what was it? First of all, kudos to you for getting your teenage son to go on a road trip with you. Well done, you. But what were the things that were important for you to show him father to son?
I think that the place that he's from has resilience, and that we've always managed to pave our way forward no matter what happens. Like lots of places are good in good times, but Newfoundland and Labrador people are really good in hard times too. And they go to places like Fogo Island where they've reinvented themselves from about 10 times in the last 250 years. And most of Newfoundland, including Petty Harbour, where I'm from, suffered through the cod moratorium in the early 90s, where, so all these towns that were built on the inshore fishery have had to reimagine themselves in some way. And so how have they done it? And most of the places we go to in this book actually are places that have reimagined and repaved a new way forward for Newfoundland and Labrador. And it's quite fun to see how they've done it.
Alan, while we're on that topic, earlier this morning we were speaking to the mayor of St. Mary's, where the fishery just burned down. And you talk about resilience of the people. This is a town whose major employer has just disappeared, won't be rebuilt until late 2026. Do you have a message for them this morning?
Well, just stick with it and stick home and stick to your guns, because they'll get through this. They've gotten through lots of hard times before, and that's a devastating blow, for those places, because I grew up in a place like that where, when I was a kid, everybody worked in the one fish plant or one of the two that were in Petty Harbour. And so that's a big loss, but they're strong and resilient people, and we'll knock it back up in no time.
Yeah, I love that the mayor was very quick to say that as well.
Yeah, we'll rebuild it.
Deep pride. Listen, what impressed Henry, by the way?
Oh, well, I think he was thrilled with how vast the province is. And I think, if I could speak for him, the whole notion that we live in this place that has so many different kinds of things in it. Like we were driving, I remember going up to the Northern Peninsula and telling him that we're going to see the Vikings, and he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Yeah, the Vikings were here." And and they left. He said, "So are we tougher than the Vikings?" I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, I love
yes,
that.
we are.
He will remember that. Listen, you share a story really quickly in the book about the first time you went to Grossmoor National Park and you hitchhiked 700 kilometers.
I did. I used to hitchhike everywhere back then because, I lived in Petty Harbour in this little town and we didn't have a car. So yeah, that photo, that's a beautiful photo from Grossmoor National Park at sunset. And it's just so spectacular. And I hitchhiked across Newfoundland and I climbed Grossmoor in 88 or 89 or something.
I was going to say, anyway, we get a lot of our viewer greetings come from Grossmoor because it's so beautiful, every vista that we see there.
That's amazing.
Alan Doyle, it has been a real pleasure to have you here. I'm going to remind everybody to get this book. I love it. These are the two iconic images I think of Newfoundland, which is you and the colorful houses. Amazing.
Terry Fox and the Marathon of Hope inspired generations of Canadians, and now we are getting an intimate look into his journey on the road. Take a look.
When I'm running each day, I take one day at a time. When I'm running, I take 1 mile at a time, and I take one corner at a time.
A new doc called Run, Terry, Run features never-before-seen footage from the Fox family archives. Sean Menard, the director and producer behind the film, and Kirsten Fox, who's Terry's niece and a community development director with the Terry Fox Foundation, joined me this morning with more. Great to have you both back on the show.
Thanks for having us.
So there's almost 100 reels of never-before-seen footage in this doc. Kirsten, some of these hadn't been opened in decades. So what was that like for you and the family and the foundation to be able to see this footage?
Yeah, Sean, I've seen a rough cut. Sean came out to Vancouver to show the family back in the summer, and it's incredible to see. I can't wait for the world to see it one day. I can't wait to see it again on Monday. But it's incredible. It's a really intimate look at Terry. Hear him say things I've never heard him say before. I see his sense of humor, his determination, just really the humanity of who he was. And I hope people really, really connect with who he is when they see the movie.
Where was this footage? Like, why haven't we seen it?
Yeah, it was in a storage facility. It ended up being 5 streetlights from my house.
No.
And everyone told me it didn't exist, or I was trying to find only a few reels, and it ended up being, you said over 100. I think it keeps growing every interview. It was 96. Oh my gosh. But things people haven't seen and they haven't heard. And she mentioned excited again to see it on Monday. We're actually down at Roy Thompson Hall with the Toronto Symphony Orchestra, and it's the first time they've ever actually played live to a documentary. So couldn't find a better subject matter to break history with than this film.
Sean, this is obviously such a Canadian story. It's an iconic story. So how did it feel to be the guy in the editing room who was picking what made it in and what didn't? What kind of responsibility?
A lot. We talked about that. I think it's very emotional because you're dealing with a figure that everyone knows, but they don't really know. And that was the goal, was how do I get people to understand who this 21-year-old was, what he went through out there, and get a sense of his determination and the risks he was taking. Because you see that through the footage, right? He's on the highway, he's running down, and cars are whizzing by him because at the time, especially on the East Coast, people didn't know who he was. So it's pretty remarkable.
God, I forget he was 21.
Yeah.
21 years old.
Yeah.
Listen, we were all kids in Canada growing up. I did the Terry Fox run growing up. Sean, you're a kid in Canada. How did making this documentary bring you closer to Terry's story?
Yeah, it made me feel like I got a sense of who he was. There's little things, right? You get to hear his laugh, you get a sense of his personality, because a lot of the statues and photos and video, you see that grit and determination, which he had, of course, but there's a whole other side of him that you get to see, and how polite he was. Like, there's small little things, right, where he's talking to a group of people, Canadians in 1980, letting them know what the sting of cancer is, and then someone just yells, "Thanks, Terry," and he says, "No, thank you." And it's just these little moments that you pick up that are charming and great to see.
The Terry Fox Foundation, we still fundraise for cancer research. That's exactly what Terry wanted. And last year alone, the Terry Fox Foundation funded over $60 million in cancer research projects. So all that money raised, we're putting to good use. It's exactly what Terry wanted. It really is bringing hope. We're seeing people live longer, better treatments, better outcomes to cancer. And that's what Terry wanted. His whole mission was to fundraise for cancer research. And, we won't stop until we find a cure and we finish it for him.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We should finish it.
Yeah.
So great. Sean, Kirsten, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
We're so glad you joined us today.
For more great conversations, don't forget to download or hit subscribe to Your Morning, the podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you think we sound great, we look great too. You can watch us live weekday mornings on CTV, CTV News Channel, or on your CTV News app. Start your morning with us.